mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 9, the Season 3 finale of HBO's Succession, entitled All the Bells Say. I don't even really know where to start with this episode. Well, first I want to start with the change in scenery. I'm in a different location today in my house. There's a whole lot of hustle and bustle going on. So I had to move to a different room that I normally record in. I'm in my son's room. I don't know if this is going to impact the audio in any kind of way. I think I can even kind of hear an echo, but it just what I have to do just to try to get some privacy and some quiet to be able to record these videos. And I didn't want to wait until all the hustle and bustle has died down. But talking about this episode, first let me start with the title. The title, which like the season finale in the previous two seasons, is a line taken from a poem called Dream Song 29. I'm going to read the excerpt that contains the title, and then I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. So the excerpt says, "And there's another thing he has in mind, like a green Sienese face 1,000 years." Sienese is a type of painting style from Siena. Like a grave Sienese face 1,000 years would fail to blur the still profiled reproach of ghastly. With open eyes he attends blind. All the bells say, too late. This is not for tears, thinking. Now, I don't understand like any of that. Pretty much. Like it's all I'm not good with poetry. So I don't know a lot of what was said there, but the actual line, all the bells say, too late, I think that kind of really encapsulates what happens at the end of this episode. So talking about the incredible final scene here, we see that Tom has kind of pulled off the ultimate betrayal. And there's so many things in the subtext here beneath the surface that it's almost like I had to write that shit down just to kind of be able to go, okay, this is what happened, because there's so much going on here. But the all the bells say too late part, the too late part is left out of the episode title, but I think the too late part is the most important part because we find out that essentially it is too late for Kendall, Shiv, and Roman to kind of pull off the coup that they have been planning. And it's too late because Shiv made the mistake of telling Tom the plan, and Tom gave Logan a heads up, and Logan was able to get with Caroline, his ex-wife, and amend their divorce agreement so that their plan can no longer work. The plan of him needing all three of their approvals for any changes in leadership. So Tom is revealed as having told this, and there's so many, having given Logan the heads up, and there's so many incredible aspects to this scene. The first is, I love the very last shot. Like we see Tom kind of like over Shiv's shoulder, and he's just saying, I think he's saying like, it's okay or something like that. And he's looking down at her, and they're not really saying anything, but there's so much like tension there because they both know what he did. And it's such a great shot. There's so much left unsaid because she sees Logan kind of like pat Tom on the shoulder as Tom's coming in. And I loved how in that moment she's looking at Tom coming in, but Roman has now collapsed on the floor. Like he's like crying. He had just tried to make a play at Jerry, and Jerry's like, that's not in my best interest, which was, wow. Like this whole season, they built up this thing with him and Jerry just for Jerry to kind of go, yeah, you're on your own, pal. Sorry. And Kendall's got his hands on both of Roman's shoulders while Roman sits on the floor in tears. And that mirrors a shot from earlier when Kendall has his breakdown and he's sitting on the ground in tears, and Roman has his shoulders on Kendall. So it was a nice marrying of images there. And then you also have the fact that there was a nice callback in this scene as well. Well, not in this scene, but tied to this scene. So after Tom gets off the phone with Shiv and Shiv's told him their plan, he goes in and basically he approaches Greg and tells Greg that he's going to bring him on, and says like, he says, do you want to come with me, Sporus? Or something to that effect. And if you guys remember, earlier in this season, when Tom went into Greg's office, he tells this story about this Nero and Sporus. And it says, he said, like, Nero pushed his wife down the stairs and then castrated Sporus and married him instead. And that now was called back because he did that. He pushed his wife down the stairs, and now he's taking on Greg as his new Sporus. And like, that was so poetic, that how they did that. I just loved everything about this scene. It was just incredible. What else did I love about this scene? Oh, I loved how when they're attempting to lay the coup out in front of Logan, Logan makes a play at Roman, and he makes a hard play at Roman. And while I'm watching that scene in the moment, I'm thinking Logan knows that they need all three of them together to be able to thwart him. And he's making a play at the person he knows he's the most likely to be able to convince to take his side. And we watch Roman struggle with this kind of like decision to go against his father when we've seen him kowtow to Logan throughout the series. And he knows he has to stay strong and tough in this moment, and he does. But then when it's revealed that Logan already knew what they were trying to do, it added a different kind of context to Logan pushing on Roman like that, because he already knew he'd won. So it was like he was almost like playing with his food with Roman. Like, he didn't even need to convince Roman to take his side. It was almost just like, I'm going to fuck with this guy a little bit more and just see what I can get away with. And it reminds me of that line from, I think it was last week, where Caroline said that he hasn't, was something like he likes to kick a dog to see if it still comes back. He's doing that with Roman. And it's interesting to watch Roman's progression throughout this season as well. When Roman was on top and he thought that he was in his dad's good favor, good graces, he was a total prick to everybody else. And then now, just like Shiv said, he's like, Shiv's telling him like he's just fucking with, he's just using you. And now he realizes that, and Roman breaking down, he turns into a child, and it's incredible stuff to watch. Like this closing scene. And this episode in general, this episode, I think, is one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen. There's so many great things that happen in this episode. And I don't mean like narratively. I just mean like just the way this show played out. There's so many great things to talk about. And I want to talk about all of them, but I wanted to spend the most time on this scene. But yeah, what an incredible episode. What an incredible finale. What an incredibly well-written show. There's so much more to talk about here. So, like I mentioned, there's a few other scenes that I wanted to talk about here. So the first is Logan and Roman's awkward sex talk. They've kind of, they've been kind of like building up this whole thing with Roman not being able to have sex or whatever. And Logan has been kind of pushing him on that lately. He had the whole thing like, "Were you queer?" That line last week. And then they're on the boat and he pushes it even farther. And he just kind of says, do what you got to do, get it straightened out. And he says he doesn't want to know about it. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm curious, what is Roman's deal as well? I wasn't at first. I just thought it was like a kind of like a just an added dimension to his character, that he's just like weird about when it comes to sex. And that was enough for me. But now they're playing it up so much that it makes me really wonder, what is his deal? And then Shiv says at some point there's something like his mother is the only person who can make him hard or something like that. I'm like, what is going on with Roman? But that was a very deliciously awkward conversation. So I really enjoyed that. Logan and Matsson's conversation was dope. I love how they both kind of like made good points going back and forth. And we're thinking, before I even get into this, I want to say something about this show that I think this show does so well, is that there will be times where I have an expectation for something to be great. Like, oh, I know this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. I know this is going to happen. It's going to be awesome. And what's so incredible about this show is not only does it live up to my expectations, it exceeds them. The Tom thing is the perfect example, because what have I been saying all season, or most of the season, that Tom is going to blow up at some point and is going to be epic. And I was right. He kind of did. But they gave me something way better than just like a Tom rant or monologue or something like that of him going off on somebody. what they gave me was even better. So I was right that Tom had reached his boiling point, but they gave me something better. And in this scene, when they decided they were going to go talk to Matsson, I thought this is going to be an epic conversation. And it starts out as such. I feel like, Matsson made some great points. Logan made some great points. But then when it shifts to Matsson wants to be the one to take over, and this becomes a buyout situation. Again, they've now escalated it even further from where it was already great, because we're thinking like, okay, we're thinking the whole problem is the equal sharing and whatnot. And then come to find out that's not even it. It's now it's like past that. And it's like, okay, he wants to do a full on buyout and take over. And then you see Roman over there kind of looking like, what is happening right now? And then he sends Roman away. Even he says no, but then he sends Roman away. And man, that was such a great scene, man. You're just sitting here like, what is happening right now? Like, what is he really going to like sell the company to Matsson, and now Matsson's just in charge? And Matsson lays out this wonderful case for why this should be happening. And that adds to the tension, because you're sitting there and Matsson even says, I'm right. And we're sitting there listening to this like he's making great points. Is Logan actually going to do this? And it was such a great scene. Another thing I want to talk about was Connor's little blow up. He got a great moment too in this episode. His I'm the eldest son conversation, and my wife and I had a really interesting conversation about that scene right after it happened. Like, we literally paused it and we're talking about the idea that siblings who this applies to my wife, by the way, siblings who have both the same parents might see themselves collectively as one group, and siblings who only share one of those parents can feel like they're kind of like on the outside. And my wife is the oldest of her two brothers who all share the same parents. And she even said, like, I would start to say that as well. Like, I'm the oldest, but technically another sibling from the same from another sibling from outside of their parents is technically older. So it's like it's a really interesting dynamic there. And I've been wondering this whole time, whenever they talk about Kendall being the oldest, I'm like, you expect me to believe he's older than Connor? And the way Connor blows up, because it's true, like, he's constantly left on the outside, and he, it looks like he's blowing up about something important. Like, I wasn't told about this equal partnership thing. And I mean, that is important, but like, they make it like it's about that, but it's not. It's about the larger thing of them acting as a collective group without including him. And his whole rant and going off on them, I thought was a great scene. And I love the fact that he was able to get that moment, because that was, Connor doesn't get a lot of attention on the show. Even like they treat him on the show like, an outside of the family sibling, and he rightfully went off on them, and it was a great scene. Another great scene, Kendall's breakdown, which I referenced earlier. Him breaking down, crying, admitting, what happened with that caterer and how much of a loser he feels like. And then, Jeremy Strong had a great moment there to perform. But also with that, I loved how both Roman and Shiv handled this, because, it's a thing where they've been hating him all season. But at the end of the day, they had that intervention earlier where they're saying, like, you tried to kill yourself, which I think that's left ambiguous on purpose. But I do think that we are supposed to glean that maybe he didn't purposely try to drown, but he was allowing himself to go in the wallowing in the sorrow that he's in. He was willing to kind of like let himself go. So less of a like purposeful thing and more of a, I'm going to allow this to happen kind of thing, subconsciously maybe. But they talked to him about that. And, once it gets to that point, it's like, okay, we've been battling over this, over all of this, stuff with the company. But at the end of the day, we still love you and you're our brother. And they're trying to find a way to convey that in their own way. Like, they that's not how they operate, is to say stuff like that, with love or whatever. And I think Roman awkwardly trying to like joke in the situation, felt really true to Roman. Like, Roman wouldn't just be like, oh man, I'm sorry, brother, give me a hug. Like he has to ease into that. He's like a weird kind of like weird social person. Like, he doesn't even, I don't even think Roman knows how to have normal interactions. And so for him to see his brother breaking down like that, and want to console him, but kind of like struggle with getting it out. I thought it was a great performance by Kieran Culkin to like kind of convey somebody who doesn't really know how to do that thing, trying to do that thing. So that was an incredible scene as well. Like I said, I love the shot of Roman with his hands on Kendall's shoulders. Great scene. And then I think the last one that I'm going to talk about in this incredible episode of television. Speaking of which, today Succession was nominated for 5 Golden Globes, the most of any TV show. I believe all of like most of the main cast got acting nominations as well. I was skimming it, but Brian Cox got a nomination. Jeremy Strong got a nomination. Sarah Snook got a nomination. I believe those are the only 3 that I saw, though. But when they're having the conversation in the car about their coup, and I liked that conversation because I liked them working together, seeing them together on good terms. Roman like reluctantly admitting that they make a good team. I thought that was nice. And I liked Shiv said something like, are we okay with killing Dad, or something to that effect? And Kendall says, pass me the fucking shotgun. Of course Kendall's down. Of course Kendall's down with this plan. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up because like there's so much to talk about, but I really covered, I believe, everything I wanted to cover with that incredible ending for Tom. And one other thing about that scene too that I thought was cool was it gave me big Godfather vibes. And I can't directly tie it to any kind of Godfather scene. It kind of felt like the scene at the end of, I think it was the first one, when Michael has the doors closed and Kay is left standing on the outside, on the opposite side. There's no door closing there, but that's kind of like the vibe that I got, was like Shiv being betrayed, and then she has to sit there and kind of just like eat it and can't do anything about it, can't even say anything. And Tom standing over there feigning care for her. I was just, oh man, what a great episode of television this was, and what an incredible season this was. Spoiler alert, barring something miraculous happening over the course of the next 18 or so days, whenever I do my top 10 list of 2021, it's Succession is going to be at the top of it. So what a great season. I can't wait to read you guys' feedback in the comments. I just want to look over my notes again and see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about that I might have missed, because there was just so much good stuff. I explained the title, talked about Tom scene. Yeah, I think we're good. Oh wait, no, I didn't give my thoughts, my end thoughts of my little minor observations. So I'll wrap up with those. The first, I loved when Roman asked if he should go with Logan to meet with Mattson, and Logan says, "Stay here and play with your dick." Like, like, I don't know. What else can you say? What else can you say? You sent your father your picture of your dick that you have no. There's really nothing you can come back and say about that. Oh, another thing that I love about this show, and this is in my thoughts as well, but I after seeing it all season, when I watched it last night, I felt compelled to put this in there. I love when they show the helicopters going across these like beautiful landscapes. It really helps to convey just how rich these people are, but it's always looks so beautiful. And they had it in this episode a couple of times where they show like a helicopter going across some beautiful landscape. And I love when they do that on this show. Someone in the comments for last week's episode told me very definitively that the girl that Greg is flirting with was not a Contessa. And I said, I believe that she confirmed that she is, but she also does like brand ambassador kind of work as well. And we find out not only is she a Contessa, but she's like 8th in line for Queen of Luxembourg or something like that. And so one, I was right. And I'm always gonna be one to jump on the I was right train. I was right. But also I love the line where Tom says something like, "You're an airplane crash away from becoming like the weirdest king of Luxembourg," or something like that. I thought that was a great line. Logan's trying to have a baby. What's up with that? That's a good season 4 plot line. Like, where's that going? Is that even possible? My goodness. And then I already talked about this scene a little bit, the conversation between Tom and Greg, but I just like the fact that I liked where Tom and Greg's relationship has gone. Like, you know, from it started from a place of ridicule. Like Greg was his punching bag, and over the course of these 3 seasons, it's transitioned into more of a partnership. And I like how it culminated with him, you know, with Tom, you know, getting this idea to screw over Shiv and everyone else, and saying, you know, and thinking, you know, when I go to Logan with this is gonna reflect well on me. He's already did the jail offer, so like Tom is in Logan's good graces in an unspeakable kind of way. Which again, this show is so well written. Think about Tom couldn't even get a moment to talk to him in season 1. You remember he's trying to figure out what kind of gift to give Logan at his own wedding. What kind of gift to give Logan? Like, oh, should I give him this one? He can't even get Logan to pay him attention. And now he's got the jail offer, which Logan said he will remember. And now he's got this. And in that moment of Tom deciding, you know, I'm going to do this to win curry favor with Logan and screw over Shiv, who's been doing what she's been doing to him all season, which I've talked about ad nauseum. His next thought in that moment is, I'm going to bring Greg with me. Even though he called it the bottom of the top, I thought that was a good progression for those two's relationship. And I love how Greg asked if he could have Gregs. He said, you could have 20 Gregs. It was a great scene. And then like the Sporus thing, like it's incredible. This show is so well written. Like it's mind boggling how well written this show is. So that's it for this season. I look forward to having a conversation with you guys about how incredible this show is and this episode was in the comments. Like I said, I thought this was one of the best singular episodes of television I've ever seen. Like, I'm going to remember this along with like International Assassin, which is one of my favorite episodes of television. It's season 2, episode 8 of The Leftovers. It's called International Assassin. One of my favorite episodes of television there. I'm going to remember this like I remember that. So I guess that's it. I'll see you guys for season 4. Peace.